Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Good evening and welcome everybody. This is the meeting of the Fitch-Rona EMS District Commission on Thursday, July 16th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a roll call.
Kirk. Here. Schultz.
Here.
Lepper.
Here.
Winkers.
Here.
Lytle.
Here.
Fusco.
Here.
Lonsdorf.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Dostalek. Here. Anders.
Here. All right, thank you. And we have a number of people in the audience. Does anyone want to submit a public comment? I imagine you're here for other business, but no public comment. All right, we'll just go right on to swearing in and pinning in new paramedic interns. So, Carol, have you come on up first? I'll do my best to talk slowly as you can't see the thing here. So, I'd like to introduce to our EMS Commission, Kiara Cherry, who is one of our new interns here starting this year. Congratulations. You can raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Kiara Cherry.
As a sworn emergency medical technician of the Fitch-Rona EMS District.
As a sworn emergency medical technician of the Fitch-Rona EMS District.
Swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially.
Discharge the duties of an EMS provider.
Discharge the duties of an EMS provider.
And I pledge to carry out these duties.
And I pledge to carry out these duties.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
I recognize the badge of my position.
I recognize the badge of my position.
As a symbol of public faith and trust.
As a symbol of public faith and trust.
And I accept this position.
And I accept this position.
So long as I am true to the ethics of the emergency medical services profession.
So long as I am
true to the ethics.
To the ethics.
Of the emergency medical services profession.
Of the emergency medical services profession.
I make these promises solemnly.
I make these promises solemnly.
Freely.
Freely.
And upon my honor.
And upon my honor.
Congratulations. We'll invite your mother to come on up and put on your pin. You can go. Oop. Go too far. Too far. Right here. Together. Okay, stop. Okay. You stop moving. I'll move. Well, congratulations. I'll bring up Natalie. How do you say your last name?
Simek.
Simek, that's what I would have said. So I'll introduce, this is Natalie Simek, this is our EMS Commission. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
I, Natalie Simek,
As a sworn emergency medical technician
as a sworn emergency medical technician
of the Fitch-Rona EMS District,
of the Fitch-Rona EMS District,
swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
swear that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties of an EMS provider,
discharge the duties of an EMS provider,
and I pledge to carry out these duties
and I pledge to carry out these duties
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I recognize the badge of my position
I recognize the badge of my position
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
and I accept this position
and I accept this position
so long as I am true to the ethics
so long as I am true to the ethics
of the emergency medical services profession.
to the emergency medical
Services
profession.
I make these promises solemnly,
I make these promises solemnly,
freely,
freely,
and upon my honor.
and upon my honor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Natalie's mentor will be Andrew Jensen, and he will come up and pin on her badge with his friend. All right, congratulations. And our third pinning tonight is we'll have Katerina come on up. So Katerina, this is our commission here. So you actually met Katerina 2 years ago when she was in the position of Natalie and Kiara there as one of our was one of our interns. So as of last week, on Monday, as of 4 days ago, 3 days ago, has actually successfully completed our paramedic technician program, will be graduating with her paramedic degree, and is as of Monday officially a paramedic, and so we will be pinning her with her paramedic badge and presenting her with her paramedic rocker. And to come and do that will be Chance. Chance and Molly were her mentors for her 2 years. All right, congratulations to everyone involved, and thank you. Next item is reviewing and approval of the meeting minutes from last month, June 18th.
I move to approve the minutes. Was it minutes?
Yeah,
Or Jen-
minutes.
Yeah, minutes.
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Allison. Any comments or corrections? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mary, aye. And any opposed? No. Okay, so minutes are passed. Next is the chief's report. All right, thank you. Chief's report, as it was emailed out to you, presented on the screen there. As you can see, it was we even say we were down 2% last month, but still at 448 calls. That's a pretty significant busy month. And I can say for the first half of July here, we are making up for that. We're keeping busy. I think a lot of it's with the heat going around as well. So On track where we are for normal responses. Other information you'll see there's pretty par for where we're at. Always love to point out the mutual aid to date. We're on track for even exceeding last year's numbers for the number of times we were out of ambulances in the city or a neighboring unit had to come on in for halfway through the year. So that fourth truck that we're trying to continue to put on in service is really important. A couple of community events in there. We hosted the Boys and Girls Club. Myself, Sarah, and Jeff spent 4 hours with the Boys and Girls Club. It's actually not just the one in Fitchburg. They come together for a summer camp from all over Dane County. If you hit their website, you'll see some of the fun we had touring the station, teaching them some hands-only CPR and making them fake bleed all over the station floor. So good time was had there. And then last Sunday, the Fitch-Rona PD hosted their bike rodeo that we were able to be part of that. So a couple of community events we were involved with there. That other information that you normally see there, that station number 2 continues to be our busiest station. Our aging report is down to something a little bit more manageable. I'd like to say that we collected a whole bunch of money, but it was really just processing through a lot of those aging and either writing them off or sending them off to collections for further, essentially the collection agency then takes over the process of collecting those. But in the big picture, we are down to a much more manageable aging. This last Monday was the meeting again with our monthly meeting with our account success executive, and kind of have a couple of plans in here to hopefully internally at least do some auditing and see what we can do to maybe match some stuff up on our end. Things like missing signatures, misspelled names, and catching those early in the process to start, just catching the little collection things that make their way to the end. Cash on hand is where we normally are. Other things to point out there, July happens to be a really big month of hiring people and interns. So a pretty significant number of July milestones. Big one to point out, Gary Samela retired last month. What the date is on there. 6/22 is his last working day. He's vacationing out until about August-ish, but that was Gary after 25 years, retired with us. And then Andrew, you met tonight. Nicole, Catherine, Justin was actually part of that group hired 7 years ago to open up station number 3. So that was a big group that was hired together, kind of a significant anniversary date. They're celebrating the opening of that station, the expanding of the district. Ryan Robertson helped fill that about a year later. Molly Olson, as we celebrate our new interns, Molly Olson actually started with us. She was our very first EMS intern, who's now a full-time employee with us. So she celebrates 4 years, and then we work our way down to some of our LTEs. Not a ton of other updates to talk about. One quick one about just a note here as far as keeping you an update on the grievance process that had moved to arbitration. We do have a date for that arbitration. It is not till the end of September. So nothing to share on that until the end of September, and we'll let you know when we get a result on that. Other shout out there is a thank you card from a patient for Jeremy and Andrew. That's what I have for my chief's report. All right, any comments or questions for the chief?
Yeah, I'd like to point out to everybody, it's called the Fractile Times for previous month. The at destination to unit in service was 11.6 minutes for you guys, which is pretty commendable. Your medics should be at least acknowledged for that. That's a pretty good amount of time, especially when you want to just chit chat and hang out with the snacks. So.
I'm not, that's true.
I have a question about the collections. And you'd think I'd know this because I've been on the commission for long enough, but we're down to about 20% of our collections, our aging is out to 180 days. It says goal of 3%. Have we ever been at 3%? I don't recall.
I
can't think in any
recent
past. It might be time. Since you bring that up, I will reach out to our auditors because those goals were set way before my time. So those may actually be auditors' goals as well, which they're probably realistic goals. But I will reach out to them and see what their thoughts are on maybe adjusting those or the reality of that. One of the challenges of this was there used to be I think it was 180 to 250, somewhere in there, somewhere between the 6-month and the 1-year mark that our previous billing company kept track of. This billing company does anything over 180 days and bunches them together. So you're correct that percentage is probably off because we lost a whole breakout.
Yeah, the percentages don't really add up. I don't know. I didn't add them.
Yeah,
I don't think they come
they
up.
don't
They
add
don't
up.
actually add up to 100.
No, and that would be why there's a whole section that fell out of there. I'll actually follow up on that, and we'll try to get that updated.
And when these things go to collections, how much of that do we get back if they collect any? Is it almost none or some?
I know what it used to be. It used to be. It changed with our previous collection agency when they collected, if or when they collected in something, and it was within, I wanted to say, like 3 years. Then currently our billing company takes 6% of everything they bill. Once it hits the collection agency, it used to be 33%, and then if it was like over 5 years old, it was like 50%. I will find out those numbers for you, because it's my assumption is once it goes to the collection agency, they have to work that much harder to track people down and find information, and they find people. For our auditing purposes, that income does not, once it goes to a collection agency, for our auditing purposes, it is considered no longer collectible. So we don't hang on to it anymore once it has gone to a collection agency. If that money is collected, it does go into run revenue, but it doesn't sit out there as a I guess, liability. I don't know that that's the correct term for it. Or a potential to be collected. I will find out that information. We also, I think I've shared it with the people for new commissioners, we also do participate in, it's called TRIP, tax interception. So providing we have the right information before it goes to a collection agency, it'll actually get it submitted to the state of Wisconsin Department of Revenue, and then any patient who actually owes us money or anybody else money, and they would be entitled to a tax refund, we actually get our money before they get their tax refund. So providing we get correct information from them, because we are a municipal entity, we do participate in that.
Yeah, your goals currently total up to 88%. It's not 100%.
Yeah, I thought there was about 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just remember from being a physician, I didn't get involved in billing too much, but you always assumed a certain percentage of your charges were not going to be collected. It's not like Walmart or...
And that is actually reported. I want to say that that's part of the aging. I'm trying to remember if this insurance company takes out. We do have a line item that's called contractually allowed, which means that they know that will never be collectible. That is considered our overall collection rate and we can break it down by payer. It hovers between 43 and 53%, which is actually higher than we have been getting. It continues to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
But that 43, and that sounds horrible, but that 43 to 53% actually does include whatever that percentage is that we were never going to get from Medicare, Medicaid, workers' comp.
Right, it's all discounted.
Yes. So we will never be 100% because of that. That is included in that collection rate.
All right, let's see, any other questions or comments on the chief's report? Otherwise, I don't think we have to approve it, we just receive it, and we'll move on to the GASB resolution.
As I shared with you last month, the only thing that only numbers that really change in there is that sick leave liability that accrues interest every month. So that sick leave liability would have gone up. We have not had any more contract negotiations and don't anticipate any more contract negotiation fees. So that number shouldn't change through the rest of the year either. So you're just actually committing those dollar amounts of our budget to things we can't liquidate, essentially.
All right, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move approval.
All right,
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we've approved the GASB again. Next is the checks, which I think is about 5 pages of them.
Any questions about the check details? Anybody read them over carefully? It's pretty standard stuff. All right, motion, I think this we do approve. Any motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
All right, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Stephen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Motion is second. Any further questions? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's approved. Knocking them off here. Next is the unassigned fund balance to purchase the Stryker power cot.
Sure. So as we discussed over the last couple of months from our auditors, we have an unassigned fund balance greater than the 35% that we would normally keep in our unassigned fund balance. To do that, one of the suggestions, if you remember last month, there was a resolution. You assigned some of those funds to the sick time payout, so we didn't have to pull it out of the investment account that it currently sits in. Since last month as well, another opportunity has come up. Next year is the year we replace an ambulance. When we replace an ambulance as part of that CIP process, we replace essentially the 5 large items that are inside of it that are now 10 to 12 years old. That's the cot auto load, the cardiac monitor, the ventilator, and the radios. There's an opportunity, my thought is with this unassigned fund balance that we have this year, we can purchase that cot this year and we can purchase that cot auto load this year. If we do it now, we will actually save $500 in shipping before the shipping goes up. And if we do it before October 1st, we actually save the price increase that will come now for next year, which historically has been somewhere between 8 and 10%. We can easily purchase that now. We can just purchase the cot. We'll put the cot in service. We can delay the shipment of the auto load for about 12 months. And then when the new ambulance comes, we'll just take it up to Minnesota. They'll put it in the new ambulance. But if I delay the delivery on it, then the warranty and the extended warranty don't start until we take delivery. So we can actually maintain. It doesn't sit here and burn up that warranty without us using it. We'll delay that. My thought is we'll just grab that cot and put it in service now. But the two of those together, and it's a direct, I love the 1 cent, right? $76,158.01 is the cot, the auto load. There's some other things in there, a wiring harness, a base plate, and a handful of things that come with this. And then that is an additional 3-year preventive maintenance program that's included in this. So I feel like that's actually a pretty good investment that actually helps next year when we come to actually purchase the ambulance, as the price of our ambulance continues to be locked in, or it's locked in, but as we replace those other things, those prices do continue to go up. So purchasing it this year with these funds helps us essentially get a better investment next year when it comes to replace some of those other things, gives us a little more funds to work with.
I have a question. So your plan is to, I understand, delay the power load, which makes sense. But then you're putting the new cot into service. What happens with the old cot? Is Stryker taking that back and giving a credit, or?
Yes. This quote does include a trade-in for both the cot and the auto load.
The existing auto load?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But they'll obviously understand that we're not going to give them that until the new ambulance comes.
When we get the new one, I've got like 30 to 90 days to ship the old one back.
Okay.
Before then, if I don't, then they'll charge us for it. So yes, that will be a trade-in on both of those items, which I think is roughly about $8,000 between the two of them.
Is there any risk to the new cot being incompatible with the existing ambulances? If they had to switch it out for some reason, we're not at risk for
we already have 2 of the brand new cots, and we've already been able to move them between everything seamlessly. Great. Yep.
Cool.
What percentage does this take the unassigned funds down to?
It's still like 40%.
Okay, cool.
I think I'll just comment that my wife and I just bought a new plug-in hybrid car that was considerably less expensive than this power cot.
It's amazing what these things cost.
I think you're paying for the name, really. Stryker loves charging everything they can.
Yeah, it's worth $10,000 at least.
Everybody's knees thank us.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're not paying for the workman's comp from manual lifting.
Yeah.
I have actually one other question then.
All right.
When it comes to well, actually, this is for this resolution, but I guess because we still have that larger dollar amount, actually, you know what, do we have an option to ask a different question, or can I just ask it now and see if it would go in here? It's probably not the same thing, but
Go ahead, you got the floor.
Great, cool. So with that extra funds that we have, I know that there was a question on then adding the dock for another day. Can the funds that we have that are still exceeding the 35%, can we pull some of those funds to go towards that extra day for the dock from UW to come through? Doctor, sorry.
I've had loading dock.
Sorry, Bugs Bunny of me.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, sorry, that just tripped me up when all of a sudden we still have a significant portion of money, so I just wasn't sure.
Nothing we can technically discuss or act upon tonight.
Yes, yeah, okay. Okay, cool.
All right, so let's see, we got the resolution, I can't remember, did we move to approve it?
I will move
Okay,
to approve
move
it.
to approve.
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of purchasing the Stryker Power Cot auto load and the preventive maintenance package, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it's passed, the resolution. All right, next is, where are we here? The MOU for the part-time, permanent part-time paramedic positions.
So I'm going to ask to defer that for one more, for one more month. Brandon said I could blame him, so we're gonna blame him. We are actively discussing it. Essentially, it was another discussion today that it included Big 311 as part of that discussion as well. So you did get a copy of the proposed changes that are on there. The one change I know that we did talk about today was there's some, I don't even want to call it, essentially what defines the very first line in that MOU that defines the hours of a part-time paramedic. They are requesting us to take that out of the MOU. We can leave it, we have it defined in our policy. They would just like it out of the MOU because it could potentially raise some questions if we had like a casual employee who worked more than 1,248 hours, would they want to be eligible for this? So the question, they would like that removed from the MOU, which I think is fine. It doesn't change the spirit of it. We still have it in our policy that defines what a regular permanent part-time position is. But Pete from 311 wanted another opportunity to dig into the benefits. So I said I didn't want to bring it back to this body to vote on again, to have to come back and change it again. So we'll defer that for one more month.
Do we have to have a motion to suspend it for a month, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think you have to have a motion to table it to the next month.
Well, I move to table it until next month.
All right, and I believe a table motion doesn't even need a second.
Great.
Anybody know that from Brian?
We could do it just to be safe. Who knows?
All right, was anyone like to second it anyway?
Yeah, I'll go for it anyway.
I'll second it to be safe.
All right. Pretty sure table, but whatever. All right, all in favor of tabling item number 11, the MOU discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, any opposed? Nay. Okay. So we'll move on to the discussion of the ambulance service rates for next year.
So I will apologize. I did not send this out to you. I did not even.
You didn't. Okay.
So you didn't miss anything. Actually, it was in pencil on the agenda that sits on my desk for 2 months as I write things down, and didn't dawn on me till today that I actually got it on the agenda for the real agenda. So it is posted, so we can talk about it. I will leave it up to this body because I did not send this to you. Whether you want me to I'll share the information, and then you can let me know whether you want to vote on it or you want to take it back to your entities or think about it for a month, and we can put it back on the agenda for next month. Let me try to make it bigger. Oop. That's why we don't use keyboard shortcuts. So, yeah, I can try to make it bigger. There we go. That's the last 3 years, but now you can't see the first line item in there. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rates that we charge. The first one is big picture stuff. We charge a base rate and mileage to anybody we transport. The base rate is a little bit different between a resident and a non-resident. Historically, the resident rate has been cheaper because the residents pay taxes towards supplementing the organization. So the resident rate is cheaper than the non-resident rate. But the first 2 rates you see up there are a base rate, resident and a non-resident rate. The next number you'll see, the 2701 that's proposed up there, that is a mileage rate. That is a per mileage rate. The next 2 numbers on there, we have 2 no transport fees. We have a no transport fee if we go, we essentially do an assessment, maybe put on a bandage, check a blood sugar, for whatever reason, ultimately not transport this patient. The second number you'll see up there is we call it a treat and no transport, which that could be, the example would be maybe it's a diabetic. We start an IV, we give them IV sugar, we wake them up, or an asthmatic who we give an albuterol treatment to, and maybe something else. But ultimately we fix them per se, but we don't transport. That is a higher fee because we actually provided some sort of treatment. The last number you'll see there on there is actually our special event rate. We stopped charging for supplies about 3-4 years ago. Medicare doesn't let us itemize for supplies anymore. So what that happened, you'll see that the big jump in the base rate about 4 years ago, as we do track essentially what we spend in supplies divided by how many calls we actually transport on. So we actually do roughly figure out what each call would pay in supplies. That gets lumped into that base rate. So that's a lot where that base rate comes from. We did not raise our rates in 2025 for 2026. So we did leave them the same, so my suggestion then would be for this year is actually to raise the rates for 2027. I did pick 3%. Was the suggested, working with the billing company, the suggested increase. Historically, again, have tried to keep the municipal, the balance between run revenue and the municipal contributions to about 50-50. So increasing our run revenue by about 3% brings it a little bit back more towards it still ends up being about a 49-51%, but the base rate brings it a little bit closer. You'll see that division, the actual numbers when we talk about the budget. But that would be the suggestion for increasing rates of 3% for 2027. I can entertain questions, or you can let me know whether you have lots more questions and want to talk about it, or defer this again, table it to next month.
Patrick, can you just cover Medicare and Medicaid, and that's not what we get paid for some of those? Do they understand that?
Sure. I segueing from kind of the previous conversation of that is we can't differentiate between patients, so every patient gets charged that. As we've been talking about, there are contractual rates. When we bill Medicare or Medicaid, we pay what Medicare, or we receive what Medicare or Medicaid reimburses for that, and the rest is written off. So typically, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, I can tell you roughly what they are. So a Medicare patient, that base rate, that $1,743, we're going to collect about $350 of that. The rest is going to get written off. For our medical assistance patients, we're going to get about $110 of that. The rest of that is going to get written off. So just because you see in the healthcare system, as David shared, right? That is why we charge everybody $1,700, is because some insurance companies will pay that, some will pay part of that, some patients will pay that, some will not, and some go to collections. So that is a lot of, we look at big pictures and averages when we determine what that run income is going to be, and kind of base a lot of it on averages and collection rates.
I'll move approval of this for one, and then two, is that special events rate the per hour rate per paramedic, or is that like if you get treated at a special event?
Nope, that is a flat rate for a team of 2. So essentially it's $74
Per hour?
per hour per
medic.
medic,
Okay,
but
got
we
it.
send out medics and crews of 2.
Yeah.
So it's $148 per hour if they get transported either by us or by whatever entity we're covering. That generates a whole nother transport bill. So this gets billed to the event host. Like at the Alliant Energy Center, we bill $144 an hour for 2 medics to sit there.
With an ambulance? Is there an ambulance there?
It kind of all depends. Sometimes there's an ambulance there. Sometimes if it's out at Epic, we'll send out a bike team, the ATV, handheld sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm curious about this because my daughter has a wedding this summer and a party at our house beforehand.
$144 an hour.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I did have
hope it won't be necessary.
one quick question before we move. Does Medicare still reimburse for mileage, or did that go out the window as well? Okay.
They do.
We don't have a second yet.
No,
Then
we
I
have
will
a
second
motion.
that.
All right,
Oh, I had
He
a quick
motioned, I'll second.
question
All right,
before we
keep discussing.
get there. Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, just roughly, do you know what percentage of patients don't have any insurance and would need to pay this out of pocket?
I will find out for you. It gets a little, it's not, I get a report every month. The challenge is the report that comes out. So if you have a $1,700 bill, and we'll bill it to your primary insurance, and your primary insurance pays $1,700 of it, so you owe $43. On our report, it switches you now over to a private pay of $43. So it's got to be sorted a little bit different by primary payer, and I don't get that in a straight report. Off the top of my head, it's a pretty significant amount of we have that are just private pay. We do have hardship policies in place, but we have a lot of uninsured or underinsured patients.
How many people typically take advantage of the repayment plan or whatever?
So there's 2 options. I usually don't see, and something I can try to find out. We do offer payment plans, 0 interest payment plans. They work directly with the billing company on that, and they pay whatever, and as long as they're paying something every 30 days, we do not charge any additional interest. It's just making payments for 10 years. I think somebody from the previous billing company from 5 years ago, I think we finally just wrote off their balance of a couple $100 because they've been paying for like 20 years, like $10 a month. So I don't know the payment plan group. I would have to say we probably get a dozen, that might be a little much, hardship applications a year.
Okay, so not very many. Then.
Not very many.
Okay.
No, it turns into about, it continues to climb every year. And I want to say over the last 3 years, it started at about 5,000 to 6,000, and we're probably about 20,000, 30,000. That I have an exact number for. We keep track of all of those accounts, but it's not very many.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had a question. You said that the billing company was the ones that dictated saying that 3% would be the appropriate amount to raise it. I guess I don't want to necessarily compare us to like Madison or Middleton, but how do we know how we rate in terms of our rates to our neighbors? And then do we know why they dictated that it was going to be 3%?
It's what they see averaging for what the average increases are across the board. Unfortunately, because I didn't catch this until this afternoon, I didn't have updated numbers on what our neighbors charge. I will definitely get that information. Historically, we are not the we are not the lowest, but we are not the highest. We tend to be right about in the middle.
Okay, cool. That satisfies what I wanted. Thank you.
Do we have contracted rates with other insurance carriers in the area like Dean and UW? Or?
Nope. No, that actually tends to be a historical problem with insurance companies, is that patients either get denied or they get, the insurance company will pay a very low amount because we're out of network.
Yeah.
Okay. No ambulance services in your network. You call 911 and you get who you get.
Whoever you get, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually dealing with one right now of reaching out to the patient, and most of the time if they appeal or call their insurance company, they'll they'll usually pay more. They don't usually pay a whole lot more, but they will pay more. So yeah, it's again a national problem of there's no ambulances in network. So no, we don't. And then just as a matter of practice, you can imagine the number of insurance companies we have to deal with. We just don't do any price negotiations. Unfortunately, that's usually to the detriment of a patient who ultimately has to pay more. The question, if you don't no price negotiation, essentially if we charge $2,000, we'll just say Blue Cross Blue Shield will call and say, we'll pay you $1,500 and I'll get you a check tomorrow if you accept $1,500 and write $500 off. But then every insurance company would be doing that, and every one of them would be set up differently. So we just, as a matter of practice, don't do that, so we don't have to keep track of what every insurance company's contracted rate is. Again, unfortunately, to the detriment of the patient, because they still may pay the $2,000. They're just going to wait to pay us, which I don't understand in the world of electronic banking, but they will still do that. Or they will only pay $1,000 and then make the patient pay $1,000. So that was the long answer to your no, we don't.
Thank you. I'll also mention that we're going to talk about the budget in a minute, but our health and dental insurance is going up 10%, while we're raising our rates just 3%. So it may seem like a lot, but it's a lot less than the average medical insurance raises. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? Do people feel comfortable voting on this? All right. Let's just say all in favor, say aye.
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 Mary, I think I heard aye. Any opposed? All right, 3% raise it is.
Okay. Again, those will not take effect until January 1st of 2027.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Next is the budget. We got two items to review on the budget: is an explanation and then the budget itself. So. And again, we're not approving the budget, we're approving Patrick's submittal of the budget to our municipalities, who will then approve it.
Give me a second to pull up here you go. So there'll be a couple of different changes from what you saw last month after a meeting. So I met with Alder Helmke from Verona. I met with Misty Dodge, who's the finance director for the city of Fitchburg, and I met with Mayor Julia earlier in the week. So with all of those things, as a couple of different changes from what you saw last month. Nothing different in the run revenue. That was just I should say it was adjusted a little bit to be a little bit more on the conservative side of things. As far as the expenses go, changed. So to take full advantage of what we have historically done with the tax levy limit, the best guess at this point is going to be about 4.6 or 4.7%, similar to as it was last year. So the target was no more than a 4.7% increase, and actually to get as close to that 4.7 increase to set next year's budget up for success as well, and utilizing the tax levy limit exemption. So to do that, I was not able to keep kind of after the discussions we had last month with both the medical direction and continuing to look at additional staffing. What I did was take out what we had talked about or proposed last month with doubling the medical director fee and taking that back to the $33,000 that we are charged. And what I did then put in here was actually adding the 2 additional peak time day trucks days. So what this does is, as we have talked about, that need for that 4th ambulance during the daytime, but doing that in 1 year is cost prohibitive. That would take a full-time truck, is roughly $1 million to hire 7 new people. To just do it at daytime, 7 days a week would take 4 people at roughly $500,000, right? None of those are going to be absorbable in any 1 year. So the plan, as we have done here, is to slowly add in 2 days a year with that peak time truck with LTEs, and then slowly convert those to the permanent part-time position. We've talked about a number of those things. So what the budget in front of you includes then is, we're not really having wages issues with the MOU with 311. So what you see in the budget is as a best guess wage for the 2 people who are interested in that permanent part-time. So as of this year, The wages for those two people would be the peak time truck rate. So what the increase then for next year is the same two people in this year's budget, but it adds in benefits. So some time off, some includes like time off and the opportunity for health insurance. So there's that little bump there, making those permanent, essentially guaranteeing us 2 days a week. And then in addition to that, it takes the two flex shifts that we had this year and adds 2 more days at that lower rate. That I don't want to call it flex because that actually means something. So it would be that peak time truck, but it would be staffed with just LTEs. So it's at the LTE wage with no benefits. What it does in the end is essentially it's 4 days a week where we would have that peak time truck for 12-hour days. 2 of those days would be guaranteed with our permanent part-time staff. The other 2 days would exist, would be out there like we're currently doing for our LTEs to staff. If we get 2 LTEs in to work that shift, great. If we don't, then we don't put that truck in service. We don't mandate people back. So it's another little baby step to slowly getting us then in 2029 is converting those shifts to permanent part-time and then adding more flex days in there till roughly 4 years from now. We have a 7-day-a-week peak time truck in that budget that we potentially either look at then what our needs are. Do we convert those then to a full-time position, which is now salaried in there, right? And we've essentially put in another truck over the 5 years with baby steps that are affordable versus the one big bite in a 6-figure salary. So that's what changed. Took out the medical director fee, put both of those things in there, and came up to about the 3.69% that we're sitting at. That's the biggest change from what you saw last month.
May I? Okay. I know you talked a little bit about some of the challenges we've had with staffing the peak time truck this year. We're not anticipating that will go away completely with this arrangement, but we're budgeting kind of conservatively, assuming that we're actually able to move up to that 4-day a week. Thank you.
I can show you what this actually looks like, and based on the change in the intergovernmental agreement with the apportionments, like if you remember, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 per capita call volume and equalized value averaged from the previous 3 years. Really nice thing about with the average is these changes are pretty minimal now because of the average. And because of that historical value, we actually are using 2025's equalized value, so we're able to know what that number is now versus every other budget we've had in the past. Like I give this to you now and it changes on August 1st. So this is actually, based on the budget we've put together, this would be the number we would submit to the municipality. So you can see in the top there of the 2027 budget proposal with that rate increase, it is a 40% income coming from 50% coming from run income, and then 49% coming from the municipalities. And then what your average would be is for the city of Fitchburg, 63.6% of that, city of Verona 32.2%, and the town of Verona would be 4.0%. You can see down on the line below that, it's about a 0.01 to 0.2% change in apportionment from last year. So that's what the dollar amount difference is, how this works. Let me bring up the real. I think this is the real one. Gotta keep changing the names on them. So this is what you'll see, and this is that. You can make it a little bit bigger. So about an 8% increase, and that's kind of where we're on target at for collections for this year, keeping it a little conservative based on what we budgeted versus what we're actually anticipating receiving this year. So you'll see a 4.2, 4.6, and a 4.16% between the municipalities. Overall, it's a 4.35%. Again, with that target. I see furrowed brows, 4.6% overall. Yes.
Does that take into account, so if we've approved then the 3% increase in the run rates, obviously that's going to have an increase in run money. Does that factor that into it?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to check.
I was optimistic you would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the numbers you see up here, I know the question always gets about the negative workers' comp. I think I explained that last month. We're just super fortunate of having, knocking on wood, not a lot of lost time incidents, and we'll have one more fall off this next year. And we have a phenomenal rate. That's why we spend $72,000 on auto loads and power cots to try to help prevent back injuries. Yeah, other big numbers are up there. The billing service is one it's uncontrollable. It's just it's a 6% of what we're anticipating from run revenue. So that's where that budget comes from. And then, as I mentioned, the $17,000. It's just we have some pretty significant preventive maintenance contracts that'll be coming due in 2027. Otherwise, entertain any other questions, and I think Dave shared with you. Go ahead.
So you mentioned this briefly. Rather than having the apportionments float around the way they have in the past until August, the approach that folks agreed on was using the 2025 assessed values, and everyone's comfortable that that's still in the spirit of the MOU in terms of how those are calculated.
I think the question is yes. I think the answer is yes. And I did actually, we've had a couple sets of eyes on them to make sure that those numbers are right, because everything will now move 1 year. So yes, I've had a couple people look at them. So this is per the intergovernmental agreement. That is how the apportionments will pan out. And so because it's an average of 3 years, it doesn't change a whole lot anymore. Yes, I think that was your question.
Yeah, I definitely prefer that. I just was making sure that that was transparent to everyone, and their understanding that that was the approach we used.
Yep, and there's an additional document. Let me pull it up. Yeah, it's not easy to see, and I think I've got it. Well, let me do this for us. Apologize. Probably just destroyed the budget, but probably. Okay. It actually shows the numbers. I think I showed it last month. I'll pull it up again for you to see it, and then I can mail it out. I think it was in there last month. This is the worksheet, so it's a little challenging to see, but this is actually the numbers from 2023, 2020, 24, and 2025 that you'll see out there for population, equalized value, call volume. Then here is the 3-year average of them, adding them all together, figuring out that 3-year percentage, and then taking the 3-year percentage of all 3 of them, throwing them down here, and then this ultimately is what the overall average. So this is where the 63.6, 32.2, and the 4.10 came from, if any of that makes sense. Raw data, the average of the average, and then the average of all the averages.
And so I really don't want to dig any further into the weeds, but last year we were under the existing IGA. So this is the...
For the 2026 budget, it was figured out per the 2026, knowing that the 2026 IGA was going to be in effect.
Yes.
So this was figured out. 2026 budget was figured out based on the current IGA.
Got it. good enough. And again, like, I'm not calling into question any of this, just making sure that, you know, the various finance directors and folks have seen these details and are on board, so we don't run into.
Yeah. So I think this is what you're talking about. So this 2025 was the last year under the old IGA, where it was 56, 38, and 5. So 2026 was under the new IGA, and that's where we saw the huge bump at 63, 32, and 4. So yeah, this is the year that the IGA occurrence occurred. If anybody's got any more questions on that.
I have a question about a different topic, if that's all right. When we discussed the ambulance rates, you said one of the reasons was to more or less bring this back to 50-50, where the municipalities are paying for 50% of our service and the insurance or patients, basically the run income, is paying for 50% of it. Is that a convention that's followed everywhere, or how did that convention come about that it's 50-50?
Yeah, we just kind of denied. As far as internally, I guess I picked it kind of as a guidance document as to how, when, and why to increase rates, as opposed to just trying to do some arbitrary, let's just increase rates to increase rates.
It seems fair, 50-50.
Yeah, and you can see again historically up there, it was not. So we actually did a pretty significant, if we go back and look at that, the years we had run revenue bumps, that 2025 to 2026 budget, or I think it was 24 to 25, and then 25 to 26 was a pretty significant rate increase to try to balance this back out.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's really just guidance. There's no rhyme or reason.
Do like Middleton, Sun Prairie, and Madison have a similar split, 50-50, or
I can ask. I don't know. Okay. I can ask.
I just think it's very interesting that of the municipal services that are provided, police and fire are 100% more or less by taxes. Nobody gets charged to have the police come to your house or the fire department come to your house. And there is fire insurance, but that's for your house and not to pay the fire department or something. Whereas EMS, for some reason, has always had this, half and half. It's partly paid by medical insurance and it's partly paid for by people's taxes, essentially.
Every year I am more than happy to let the municipalities fund 100% of my budget and let one of the finance directors do billing.
It's hard to get the people that get arrested to pay the cops afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I think when we talk about like all the uncollected, like 20% of the bill is uncollected and stuff, think about what spurs the ambulance being called. It often isn't a conscious choice on the part of the patient. They're lying there bleeding or unconscious. Somebody else calls the ambulance frequently, and it doesn't always work. It's not like a buyer's choice where you're buying a box of cereal or something. You get this expense called on you, and whether your insurance pays for it or not, it sounds like it often doesn't pay very much. So it is interesting, and I think it's reasonable to expect the municipalities to pay some portion of that. But it is interesting to me that it's 50-50, and I would wonder what the other communities, how they've come up with it. Yeah. Jeff?
My previous department, that was always the goal as well, was to be 50-50. Just like our budget here. Some years you were a little bit off, some years you were a little bit over, but the goal is 50-50. Especially as municipalities and communities and districts moved to a more paid or full-time model as well.
And more professional instead of volunteer and stuff.
Yeah, keeping in mind, as Jeff had pointed out, right, we can charge whatever we want. We're still only going to get reimbursed.
Yeah.
So that we do, if we look at big numbers when the auditors do that, that write-off number continues to grow. That's part of the after effect of raising rates and not getting more reimbursement.
Right.
Daniel.
I had a different question on the budget before this goes off and we vote on it and everything, or send you back to the treasurers or the finance folks. Last month we had asked, and I will admit that I was probably the biggest proponent of asking all the questions about the doctor from UW and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a little bit of a shock that we're not going to put that in here. Could you just explain that again? Because I think I was probably just like not completely focused as to why we took it off of this Obviously, like the intention is really good, so I agree with it, and I was looking forward to being able to like hear from the doctor and everything. But I guess can you walk me through the rationale with why we removed it and what the plan is to the future?
Sure. I will give you, he was going to come. And I told him not to come because I made this decision. So it wasn't that I took it out because he wasn't going to come. He was actually going to come and talk to you. Essentially, I was given 4.6% increase was my target number. If I would have left the additional $33,000 in there, I would have been over my 4.6%. So that $33,000 fit well with that additional peak time truck. I couldn't do both. So essentially I talked with Devin and Jeff as well and said, where do we invest funds, right? Getting the doc here one more day a week to do as we talked about. We still didn't really have right, other than it gets him here and then we can figure out what we want him or her to do, versus do we get expansion in service? Do we get 2 more people here? Do we give some more relief to our staff? Do we get shorter response times? Do we get more trucks on the road? So I feel like in the big picture, the greater investment is to bring those people on board. We still get really good medical director service. So it's not like we're losing anything. I just want more. To get more, I got to pay more. So that was really where that decision came from.
So then I guess that goes back to the earlier question that I had with the additional funds that we have. If we could have used those funds to pay for that additional daily or like, once a day service for a month or something like that, is this completely off the table then at that point if we were to move forward with like having you take this back to the municipalities?
No. So what we would not do would be to budget that, because we won't budget unassigned fund balance. It would be more of, again, like a resolution similar to what we did when we brought the second intern on that was unfunded. We just take and have essentially it's an unbalanced budget because we know we're going to spend more than what we have. Historically, unassigned fund balance is spent on one-time items, so that might be a little bit, I guess, from the finance director side of things, it's not they don't like it when we put unassigned fund balance in operational things, and it's committing funds that you may not have in the future. There's the potential to work through something in a resolution to say for 2027, we can put some unassigned fund balance towards additional medical direction and just not commit it to an operational budget with a clear understanding in their contract with UW that this is a 1 year, maybe to be renewed annually based on what we have in an unassigned fund balance, but it doesn't exist in a budget.
Yeah, my concern and why I'm kind of badgering it still is because if we're adding on this peak time truck, we're getting more clinicians that are going to be working, right? That weekly operating base of our providers is going to go up. So then I still like the idea of having the doctor around a little bit more often, because then as we grow, obviously getting this next rig fully staffed, right, is going to take a little bit of time. So I guess I would still like the idea of having that as an option if we could still work with UW, but like we're going to have more providers on the road and having still 1 doctor per month, and that's what we have. We're still increasing our staffing would be like my thought on that. Obviously over time they're still going to training, obviously they still have their monthly requirements and everything like that, but still having those trucks out there, we have more trucks on the road, but we still have only 1 doctor. So if we were to provide those providers a little bit more clinical oversight, would be, I think, beneficial potentially.
I can take that back to the UW group and Dr. Mancera, and I can see if I can get him here next month to chat, and that may be something I can put together as a resolution. We've got time before next year of putting something as a resolution if that's what you or the group would like, of committing unassigned fund balances to a one-time purchasing of time, and then something to be, to me, I guess, as long as it has an end date, so for 2027, you're not committing funds for future budgets. It's an option for it.
I have a question. I mean, the doctor's involvement is not a personal one with each individual provider. Is it? It's more he comes and teaches in a group or supervises a group. So if there's 15 people receiving his teaching versus 20 people, what's?
I guess it's my understanding.
Yeah.
It could be whatever.
It's a little bit of everything.
The
UW does have a simulation, like a high fidelity simulator they'll bring out with an operator and a doc. So then it's like two 2
yeah.
on 2 or
One, yeah,
4 on
okay.
2. He does do the large group, or her, Dr. Stevens. They'll do like a run review with us. So we'll have 10, 12, maybe 15 people with that. But it may be 2 or 3 people in a small group, or if he or she's just at the station, there might just be the crew. So it might just be 2 of them, it might just be 4 of them. So it all depends on kind of what we want to do with it. We could just do 1 duty crew. So it could change.
So more providers would mean
Smaller groups, more often training.
Maybe better teaching.
Yep.
So what we're looking for is a motion to approve Patrick taking this budget to the municipalities.
I'll move approval.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? I think I heard everybody. All right, that passes. Thanks. Any other business as allowed by law? I don't see any or hear any. All right, move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.